Hello, my Bill 5000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. We are back with another Coffeehouse Crime. That's right. This one is titled Malaysia's Most Chilling Murder Case. Oh, Malaysia's Most Chilling Murder, the Case of Canny Ong. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ong, 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 O-N-G, Ong, right? Probably not. I tried. And that's what matters. All right, if you all are ready for today's story, go ahead, turn the mics down low, put on something comfy, cuddle up with someone special. Oh, let's get chilled to the bone. I'm sorry, I made myself laugh. That was so stupid. Oh, fuck.
Every outing we take carries a small element of risk. But when Canny Ong returned to her home country,
Oh shit, is this where you take the chance of dying just getting out of bed shit? Don't take me down that path, man. I don't like that shit. Got 50 chance of dying just getting out of bed. No, fuck you, bro.
to support a family illness, she had no idea that a simple dinner at a shopping mall would end in her being at the mercy of a violent and depraved killer. The events that followed shook the nation of Malaysia to its very core, and outraged the public so much that it sparked pivotal changes to its laws. But
Oh
what
shit.
precisely happened to Canny Ong? What evil found her at a shopping mall? And what happened next? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at a rather infamous case from Malaysia that happened in the year 2003. It feels like I say this all too often, but this case is so senseless and is so difficult to comprehend. And the killer's own version of events is honestly mind-blowing. By the way, welcome back to Coffeehouse Crime. I post true crime and strange cases here weekly, so if that does sound like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing. And apologies if I seem a little lethargic in this one, folks. It's currently 30 degrees Celsius in here, or 86 Fahrenheit. Honestly, I am so warm. Before we begin today, I just wanted to take one moment to talk about our sponsor, and that is AG1. Now, I was using AG1 months before they reached out to me, which is quite awesome, by the way, but AG1 has done a phenomenal job at managing my focus, energy, and stress levels. For those of you who haven't heard of AG1, it's a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food sourced nutrients that aid your brain, gut, and immune system. It is packed with all of the good stuff that supports your body. Rhodolia, magnesium, and B vitamins.
It looks like Swamp Thing pissed in your cup, bud.
Support sustained energy, whereas prebiotics, probiotics, and plant-based enzymes help support your digestion. And your daily dose of vitamin C, zinc, and more supports your immune health. All of these small benefits add up together, and its taste is pretty damn good too. AG1 has become a key part of my morning ritual, even before my first cup of coffee. It has helped me feel more energized and
No. Not a damn thing comes before that first cup of coffee. Not a damn thing. Damn coffee pot is on a fucking timer. It starts before I get up. That way, as soon as I wake up, I go pee pee, I come out, I get me coffee. Grr.
reassured that I'm getting a full spectrum of vitamins and minerals that help support my immune system. AG1 sources the best and highest quality ingredients it can find, which include 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients. I find I'm able to concentrate.
Is that how we're supposed to say vitamins? Is vitamins? I'll say vitamin. I don't care. I'm not saying taco. Saying taco.
More, feel less stressed, and be more alert. And ever since taking AG1, I feel less bloated too, which was a nicely unexpected benefit. It is honestly one of the few things I'd consider as part of my secret formula. Running a YouTube channel and all of the hours behind it is tough, and this helps me keep on top of the game. If you're ready to give AG1 a try, then head over to drinkag1.com/coffeehousecrime or click the link in the description below. To add to that, you'll also get a 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/coffeehousecrime. Thank you, AG1, for sponsoring today's video. Thank you to you folks for supporting us content creators. And now let's get straight back to today's case. Anyway, and now with that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive.
Fuck it, I'd try it. I've never drank Swamp Thing's piss. I mean, Why not at least once? Fuck it.
This is the case of Canny Ong.
I was right. It is Ong. Ong.
Salamat pagi, folks. Today, we're traveling to another new country on the Coffeehouse Crime map. Tucked underneath the beautiful countries of Thailand and Vietnam, we find the dual island nation of Malaysia. Comprised of 13 states that are split across 2 islands, the country has a population
So it's... Damn. That would suck. Where you live? I live on the west side. Where you live? I live on the east side. It's like, damn. Can never be together. Why? 'Cause I ain't taking a ferry to see you every fucking day.
of just over 32 million residents, making this place one of the largest nations in the region. Malaysia is well known for its multicultural society, its exotic cuisine, and of course, its many tropical rainforests which can be found scattered throughout the landscape. Home to Malayan tigers, Asian elephants, and several species of primates. It's also a very important hub for biodiversity in Southeast Asia. But while this country is beautiful and very diverse, it does also have its own.
I get really excited for animals. I'm sorry. Did you see the monkey? It's so cute. I love animals.
Flaws. Capital punishment is still widely used by the legal system for the worst of crimes.
Hell yeah.
But saying that, there are some rather strange quirks to it too.
I like to hear that. You fuck up, we gonna fuck you. I like that.
In 1983, Malaysia recognized drug smuggling as one of the nation's top challenges. And with this in mind, they mandated the death penalty for all forms of drug smuggling. Anyway, there are a total of 11 types of crime.
Those are some cool ass buildings. Are they round? They have a lot of round buildings. I want a round building. There's 2. There's one right there. It's cool as shit.
That mandate the death penalty, and of course, one of those includes murder. But before we get ahead of ourselves here, we're focusing on one very important woman, that being 28-year-old Canny Ong Kian. And get ready, by the way, because behind her story, we're going on an international journey. Born on July 18th, 1974, to her mother Pearlie Visvanavan and father Ong Bijang, she was the middle child of 3 sisters and grew up in a loving family home found in the small city of Ipoh, which can be located towards the north of the Malaysian peninsula. As with many other families in the country, Canny's family were rather multicultural. Her mother was
Okay, I have a question. Where it's split up like that, is it equal? Like, is this part over here better than this part? Is this part over here better than this part? Does this part have like the fancy jobs? Does this part have like the working class jobs, like, you know, the factories and shit, while this here's all white collar, blue collar? I mean, is there a difference in, or is it just all just like one big old hoopla?
of Chinese Indian descent, where her father was from Singapore. While growing up, she would prove herself to be an intelligent and hardworking student.
Yeah, that one's that. Potato phones back in the day, bro.
Achieving high grades throughout her education. She was popular, had many friends, and was an ambitious young woman. She also had dreams of studying abroad, which eventually she would certainly achieve. Studying in the tropical paradise of Hawaii, she earned herself a degree in economics. This decision was positively supported by her many friends and family, and after graduating in the 90s, she traveled even further afield to find work in the bustling city of Los Angeles. Now, our adventurous, brave, and successful young woman would eventually find work at a marketing company.
Yeah, she grabbing a lot by the cojones, bruh. I like that.
Which evidently helped her make a decent living in the city. And it's here, in this moment of her life, that she found her future husband, Brandon Ong. Brandon's parents were both Chinese born, but had moved to LA from Singapore around 20 years earlier, meaning that he had spent most of his life as an American citizen. Now, this suited the pair perfectly, as, moving through her young adult years, Canny found that she had no intention of moving back to Malaysia. The pair were quick to hit it off, eventually marrying in 2000.
I don't know, but the music in the background just got me into it, bro. I'm loving it.
on, before moving to San Diego to settle in their new married life. And although they didn't have children just quite yet, they would become very proud cat parents instead. Of course, I have no idea what that feels like. Everything seemed to be going rather well for Canny and Brandon. They were just beginning their happy and new journey in life together. However, for Canny, this was sadly all about to change, as in early 2000.
See, I can't have cats. I am severely allergic to cats. But I think they are adorable. Especially kittens. Oh my god, is there anything better than a curious kitten? Just saying. Like,
And three, her father, who still lived in Malaysia, was unfortunately diagnosed with kidney cancer. The diagnosis left Canny and her family in despair, but she was determined to help them the best way she could. So, from across the Atlantic Ocean, she kept a watchful eye on her father. It was eventually decided that her father needed surgery for his condition, and so with Canny wanting to be there, she booked a flight to head on back to Malaysia. And so on
couldn't she have maybe brought him to the States for surgery? Would have been better? I don't know. I'm probably sounding really stupid or really mean to Malaysian people. I was just asking, I mean, I don't know. Are there hospitals in Malaysia good? I don't fucking know.
June the 1st, 2003, she left her husband to look after the cats. Now, fortunately, her father's surgery was a success, and he was now on a slow but steady road to recovery. Following the good news, Canny felt comfortable enough to return to the United States, and so, booking a flight for June the 14th, 2003, she decided to go out for dinner one last time with her family the night prior at a shopping centre. Dining at Monty's restaurant and wine bar, located in the Bangsar shopping centre in Kuala Lumpur.
Shit. Don't know why I was talking like I may have a bad habit of doing that sometimes. I don't know why. It happens. So her boyfriend's still in the States watching the cat. She goes over to be with her dad. Everything's going good. Everything's fine. And she's getting ready to have one last good meal with her family so she can get on her flight the next day. Okay, for one, that sounds way too fucking sweet. Shit's going to get really bad really fast. For two, okay, I don't know how shopping malls are in Malaysia. Do you have really nice restaurants in there? Are they like really nice places to go, or is it just like a mall that you'd find around here where you can go in and they have like a Chinese food place, Charlie's cheesesteaks, wings, etc., or is it like a mall where you're gonna go in and get like some exquisite dining food? I'm not asking. I just want to know what kind of food they was eating. I'm weird. Don't judge me.
They tucked into a lavish dinner of steak and fried crab. A photo from that night shows a united family happily dining together, Canny and her infectious smile beaming out from amongst them. Realizing that her mother had grown tired from the dinner, Canny offered to drive her back home before returning to the gathering. And along with her sister, the three women descended back to the underground car park. However, after arriving at the pay machine, Canny realized that she had left her ticket in the car. And so, telling her relatives to wait by the machine, she dashed back to the vehicle to retrieve it. This should have taken a mere minute or two. However, after 20 minutes had passed, her mother and sister began to worry. They tried to reach her on her mobile phone, and although the first call rang through to voicemail, the second one cut straight to it, thus indicating that the phone had been turned off between calls.
Oh
Call
shit.
has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
The sudden change in events was very worrying, and after making their way down to where the
Oh yeah, that phone's turned off. She's been gone like 19 minutes longer than what she was fucking supposed to. Call 911.
car was parked, which was a purple Proton Tiara, they realized that it was
Excuse
now
me.
nowhere to be found. It's at this moment that both confusion and a slight panic began to set in, and the two worried relatives returned to the rest of the family to deliver the news. Together, the family began their unplanned search for Canny. The young woman seemed to have just suddenly vanished. After tracking down the car park security team, they pleaded with them to review all surveillance footage which may contain visuals. Together, the family and security officers traced her last recorded movements, and what they saw terrified them beyond all measure. Although Canny was captured walking to her car, she wasn't aware that she was being stalked by a strange and recognizable figure. The two eventually disappear out of view, before her purple Proton Tiara is seen driving around the car park, before passing through the barriers at the exit. Located within the car, an unknown individual could be seen in the driver's seat. And next to him was a frightened-looking woman who could only be assumed to be Canny. To everyone's fear, it looked like she had just been abducted by a stranger. 1 hour after her disappearance, Canny's abduction was reported to the police, and the young woman was officially classed as missing. And it would soon transpire that the car park surveillance footage was not the last time that she would be seen by law enforcement. Just prior to midnight, 2 undercover police officers spotted a suspiciously parked car that fit the Proton's description. They decided to approach the vehicle, and as they did, 2 figures became visible. To their surprise, Canny Ong was in the car and also appeared to be alive and well, and by her side was this random man who had abducted her. The officer ordered the pair of them to prove their identity, in which both adults complied, and the man that she was with was formally identified as 27-year-old Ahmad Najib Harris. While checking their IDs and while Ahmad was distracted, Canny desperately tried to get the officer's attention by subtly shaking her hands. Now, at the time, the officer had no idea what she was trying to do, but in hindsight he should have known better, because something was very, very wrong here. As soon as Ahmad realized what Canny was doing, he slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the two of them disappeared into the night, leaving the officer with both of their IDs in his hand. Thinking fast, the officer pulled out his gun and fired at the vehicle's tires, flattening one of them in the process.
Hell yeah.
But sadly, this was not enough to stop it, and Canny Ong slipped into the night.
Damn.
Another report of the pair would come just 1 hour later, when a woman and her brother were approached by a stranger asking for a car jack. Peering over at the car just 20 feet away, she noticed a worried-looking woman sitting in the front seat. Canny was, once again, frantically gesturing for help with her hands. All in the meanwhile, Ahmad was busy changing the front tire. By instinct, the woman felt that something was terribly wrong. She decided to take the number plate of the purple car and then eventually pass it on to the police. Predictably, Ahmad was in no mood to hang around, and after realizing it was going to take too long, he gave up on the tire, got back in the car, and then fled again with Canny. And after the woman reported this encounter to the police, this sighting would be the last time that anyone saw Canny Ong alive.
Damn.
Days passed without any sign of Canny. Everyone knew that this wasn't good news, and her grief-stricken family had the awful duty of telling her husband, Brandon, the man himself desperately waiting for an update thousands of miles away. The tension left behind in her silence raged on for a short while. However, on day 3, a shocking and gruesome discovery was uncovered. On June the 17th, construction workers could smell something awful coming from the side of the road. Curiosity got the better of them, and after following their noses, they eventually tracked the smell to a small manhole cover. Thinking that some kind of animal may have crawled inside and died, they wanted to take a closer look. At the bottom of the manhole, and beneath a couple cement-filled tires, they discovered the remains of a small female human body, burnt almost beyond recognition. Responding to the scene immediately, officers could tell that she had been bound with cloth around her neck, with her arms tied in across her chest. Already knowing of Canny Ong's disappearance, police officers contacted the missing woman's family to see if they could help identify the body. Halfway across the world, Brendan waited in agony to hear the news. Sadly, a mixture of forensics and positive identification by the family would confirm their worst fear imaginable. Autopsy reports revealed that Canny Ong had been stabbed twice in the stomach, before eventually being strangled. Her abandoned Proton Tiara was discovered later that day, with one tire still deflated. To add to this, a large bloodstain was discovered on the back seat. This was later tested and confirmed to belong to Canny. Now, obviously, this man clearly was stupid, because despite leaving his ID with the officer, he just returned back home and acted as if nothing had happened. Using his ID card, officers found him the very next day back at home, which he shared with his girlfriend. which is quite terrifying when you think about it.
What?
Because very little did she know that the very night prior, he had murdered and
This murdering piece of shit just went home and laid in bed with his old lady. Like, whatever. That's a special kind of fuck right there. Oh, he needs to be shot in his damn face.
assaulted another woman. Forensic analysis found Ahmad's DNA in the car at the scene that her body was found, and tragically inside Canny's body too. And Canny's DNA was found all over his clothes. With these results negating any sort of deniability, Ahmad had no choice but to confess, in hoping that he may be spared the death penalty. Following his confession and testimonies made by other people, investigators were able to build a solid recount of the night's events. After trying to change his tyre, Ahmad drove to a secluded area beneath an abandoned bridge. While here, he threatened Canny at knife point and told her to get in the back seat. And between the hours of 1 and 5 AM, she was tragically repeatedly assaulted. When Canny eventually fought back, he stabbed her twice in the stomach, resulting in the back seat being covered in her own blood. She was then bound, strangled, and then dumped into a nearby manhole, where Ahmad then cruelly covered her up with 2 tyres. He then abandoned the car in the nearby warehouse before hitching a taxi back home. And if that wasn't enough, he returned with 2 petrol canisters the next day, poured both of them down the manhole, and then set it alight. An interesting side note, by the way, but using a fire to conceal a murder seems to be a very common misconception. Many murderers don't realise that full cremation can only occur between 1000 and 3000 degrees Celsius, or for you Americans, 1800 and 5500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, obviously, this isn't something you'd get from a typical petrol fire,
No.
and all the evidence you were trying to conceal would actually still remain. And so, after 3 days of investigation and following an obvious trail of evidence, Ahmad Najib was officially arrested and charged with the kidnap, assault and murder of Canny Ong. As you can probably imagine, this case sent shockwaves throughout Malaysia. Due to the
That's
very
so
harsh
fucked up.
punishment, murder cases are actually
I'm sorry, but that's beyond fucked up. Oh my god. Saw this poor lady for like 4 fucking hours. I swear to God. I don't want him to get the death penalty. I want him to go to a prison where he gets assaulted for the next 40 years. Every day. All day long. And then right before he's about to get out or whatever, they set him on fire.
quite rare in this country, but the sheer brutality and disrespect committed in this one was enough to anger the entire nation. Now, ultimately, the
I'm
road
angry.
to justice was going to be both long and difficult, but it didn't actually take long to kick off. With the general public expressing their sincere appetite for prosecution, his trial began only 3 months later, which was September the 15th, 2003. In a strange twist of fate, it would take multiple years before a verdict would finally be reached. During his trial, Ahmad
What?
portrayed himself as a compassionate man who was merely trying to look out for Canny. He claimed that the entire situation was simply a mistaken identity, and that the real target was actually a previous employer. According to him, after looking at her ID, and when he realised that Canny wasn't actually the woman who he thought she was, they both laughed and even joked about the mistake. He then allegedly tried to befriend her, eventually suggesting they have sex. Ahmad tried to say that, because she didn't refuse, he thought it was consensual. He would also claim that he was forced to stab her through self-defense, and that he had even tried to help her by then asking her not to move. He then apparently offered to take her to the hospital, but then changed his mind because he didn't have the money to pay for treatment. When it became obvious that she was going to die, he then offered her to heaven, before strangling her and then dumping her body. Now, obviously, his story was a
What the
terrible
fuck?
fabrication. There was no sort of compassion or consent whatsoever, and all of the evidence available unequivocally confirmed his violent actions.
What the fuck?
During his trial, it was revealed that this wasn't his first time either, and Ahmad had actually assaulted 4 other women on 4 separate occasions. Unfortunately though, due to the shame and stigma behind his actions, all 4 decided not to testify against him, as they would have to be publicly named. As with most cases involving homicide, Ahmad had to be professionally evaluated by psychologists to see if he was sane and could be held accountable for his
Oh, yeah.
actions. And given the penalty is much more severe in a country like Malaysia, an additional sense of criticality had to be put on this evaluation. However, despite this, Ahmad was still found to be completely sound of mind, and was therefore accountable for all of his actions.
Good.
Despite all of the evidence stacked against him and his own written confession, Ahmad would still plead not guilty to the murder and
No one
assault
cares,
of
bud.
Canny Ong.
I
And
hope
whether
you
they
get it in
liked
the
it or
butt.
not, his defense lawyers would aggressively rally behind their client. His defense team pulled any reason or excuse they could think of to try to reduce, excuse, or even justify Ahmad's actions. And if I could tell you every dumb excuse they came up with,
There's no excuse for sexually assaulting someone in the backseat, stabbing them 2 times, throwing them in a fucking pothole and then, or a manhole, and then setting them on fire. You're a fucking idiot, bud.
I think this video would probably go on for hours. Now, one of the most ridiculous of these arguments included blaming Canny's actions and motives. The defense questioned why she had not taken the multiple opportunities she had to run away from Ahmad when she seemed to have plenty of opportunity to do so. Two of those most pertinent questions were, why didn't she try to leave the car when officers asked them for ID? And why did she not take the opportunity to run away while Ahmad was busy trying to change a tyre? They argued that this wasn't because Canny had been abducted, but rather that she was somewhat compliant with Ahmad, and that she had even consented to the arrangement and actions that occurred that night. The defense would further insult this case by suggesting that the cloth around her neck was part of some sort of sexual fantasy gone wrong, and that perhaps her death could have been accidental as a result. However, this theory was very quickly brushed away. It became evident that the cloth had been tied extremely tightly around her neck. This could be proved because the area of her neck beneath the cloth was the only part of her body that remained uncharred by the fire. Now, this story still fails to explain how or why she had been stabbed, so I guess Ahmad's defense team conveniently forgot about that one. In the end, his defense simply didn't hold up, and on February the 23rd, after a final trial at the Shah Alam High Court, Ahmad Najib was found guilty of the assault and murder of Canny Ong. And let me tell you, his sentencing would not go down lightly. For the assault of his victim, Ahmad was given the maximum punishment available, resulting in a sentence of 20 years behind bars. As for the murder charge, he was given the death penalty. And just to rub salt to the wound, he was also sentenced to 10 lashes of the cane. The rather savage sentence came as a relief for Canny's friends and family. A terribly brutal killer had been brought to justice with a terribly brutal sentence.
Man, you get beat down. You're going to be in there for 20 years, beaten down. Bro, I like Malaysia.
And although nothing could bring Canny back, in their minds, justice had been served in the closest way possible. Although Ahmad initially told reporters that he accepted the verdict, he would later change his mind in 2000.
Can we stab him a couple times too in the gut? Just to show him what it feels like?
7, and again in 2009 when he appealed his own conviction. Unsurprisingly, both of these appeals were ultimately denied. I find it woeful that, of all people, a murderer who selfishly took the life of another human would actually feel scared and entitled enough to try and get their own back. It just goes to show really how much of a spineless coward this man really was. Ahmad's efforts would not stop there, however. He appealed for mercy from the Sultan of Selangor, who is the head of state and Islamic religion. But this appeal was once again rejected, meaning that Ahmad was destined to be at the gallows. And finally, on September the 23rd, 2016, more than 13 years after the murder of Canny Ong, the now 40-year-old Ahmad Najib bin Aris met his end. He was executed by hanging in Kajang prison at 6 AM that morning. This development was a relief for Canny Ong's family and loved ones, knowing that their killer had now finally been brought to justice. Although Ahmad's execution may have felt cathartic to Canny's family, it sadly doesn't do anything to bring her back.
No, it does not do anything to bring her back, but it does make me feel slightly better that he suffered.
She was a bright, independent woman who had big dreams and even bigger achievements. Canny was taken from her family in the moment she was doing her very best to support them, travelling across an ocean to be there and driving her mother back home at the end of a long day. Her family had no idea that evening they were not saying goodbye before she flew back to the US, but saying goodbye forever. This case is one that gripped Malaysia for very obvious reasons. I mean, sheer brutality aside, Everyone was so shocked to see this happen in the middle of a busy shopping centre. Following this case, and in an effort to provide safety, many Malaysian car parks started offering women's-only parking spots. Many shopping centres would also increase their security by hiring more security guards and installing extra surveillance cameras. Sadly, hindsight can be 2020, and it often takes tragic cases like these to spur motivation and change. So, although Canny may be lost to the world,
unfortunately, he's not lying. Something really fucked up has to happen, and usually it has to go to court, it has to be drug out for years before anyone ever starts to make a change about it. It's sad but true.
Her death has actually catalysed the safety of millions of women across Malaysia. And although it's been more than 20 years since her passing, I'm sure that her family and friends still think of her every single day. So anyway, folks, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here today. Thank you so
Hey, I mean, as tragic as it is, at least something came from it. It's not just a murder and nothing come of it. She lost her life, yes, but thanks to that, there's countless other women out there that might not lose theirs. That's awful that it takes something like that to get to that point. But all at the same time, sometimes bad things happen and we still don't get to that point. It's fucked up. Oh, Adrian, Broham. That's a good story. All right. I really enjoyed today's story. If you all enjoyed today's story as much as I did, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, deranged things that just make you want to, what the fuck? Think about subscribing. I say what the fuck a lot. A lot, bro. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, they should, like, put him in there, brought him back out, put him in there, brought him back out all those years. Man, someone should have stabbed him a couple times, set him on fire, let him actually know what it was like to be her.